welcome today. It's been over 2 months since our last AMA, and you can watch that recap on our YouTube, by the way. Just type !AMA in the chat for the link. Of course, only watch it after this one. But since then, Valhalla has seen some nice updates and content, such as the Easter event, new pharaohs added, a huge performance update, and of course, many more things that we can't see yet, but are being worked on. And during this AMA, we'll hear more on that. And actually, guys, just 30 minutes ago, new patch notes were released, and those introduced a smoother experience in the game's introduction and a familiar watering emote that some players may recognize from the Easter event. And also the ocean in Valhalla has been cleaned up, so it has now a refreshing look. So smoother onboarding to the game, a familiar emote, clean water, and bug fixes. And you can read more by typing !patch in the chat, or go to the Valhalla website and check out the news. So be sure to check out after the AMA, or maybe if you're able to multitask, you can do it even now. I don't think I'll be able to. But with that being said, I would love to introduce Mr. Brownwill, Floki's Metaverse lead and team lead of Valhalla, and Jackie, Floki's lead blockchain developer. How are you doing, Mr. Brownwill?
Hey, not a will. It's been a while. Hello, Vikings. It's been a while. How am I doing? It's pretty hot here in the Netherlands right now. So it's not often that it's this hot. So I'm feeling pretty hot right now, and not in the other sense of the word, but literally hot. But also excited to have this AMA again. I know it hasn't been a while, so we have some things to make up for with the Vikings, and let's start with today.
Awesome. Yeah, I can attest to a hot weather in Holland, but nice to hear. And welcome, Jackie. How are you doing, Jackie?
Hey, doing fine. I think I am suffering along with the two of you from the heat that we're experiencing in the Netherlands. But other than that, pretty good. Super excited about coming updates. Well, also about the update that was just released, but these to me are mostly preparation and preparatory updates to get us ready for a more massive social experience and more people joining us in Valhalla.
Nice to hear. Nice to hear. I look forward to this AMA. As the last one with you, Mr. Brownwill, was very informative and also fun, especially with some sneaky questions from familiar corners. I see some of those in the chat at the moment. And I think that made me and a lot of others more hungry to experience the end result of what the team is cooking for the players. So actually, Mr. Brownwill, before we start with the first official question, I know you like games, right? Let's do a trade-over. Because if you are developing Valhalla, I know you must like games. So for the last AMA that we held, you actually agreed upon revealing the utility of Trade C of our NFTs. If I would ask it at the very end of the AMA, and of course I forgot to ask it, and I'm being reminded of that to this very day. So I have a trade-over, Mr. Brownwill. I can start either, if you're also willing, of course. I can start the AMA with this question and receive only this answer regarding NFT utility, or I can ask, risk to forget it, or I can ask about it at the end of the AMA, and besides Trade C utility reveal, we also get a little extra snack. And it's not the whole reveal, but a little snack regarding the flow guitar utility. What do you say?
Okay. Touché. That's a good trade. That's Jackie, what do you think?
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I need to call in my helpline. So Jackie, what do you think?
I think I know what's handy for us, but it's less interesting for the rest of the people. So yeah. And I'll leave it up to you guys to decide which is which.
Okay. Let's talk about Trade C.
All right.
So are you going to jump right in with the questions, or you've been I think you're now an experienced interviewer, and you like to put people on the spot. No problem. Okay, so what we've done, so you guys have experienced these events, right? The bonfire event, the Easter event, and these events have, well, often specific limited edition NFTs, or well, perhaps not NFTs, perhaps just items or just fungible tokens, but they're limited. What TradeZ does, TradeZ guarantees you access to all of these limited events, because these events will be gated at times, and the TradeZ will make sure that you get in every single limited event. So let's say a big hair event where you can catch a specific level of big hairs, or yeah, I'm not going to leak anymore. But these kind of events are TradeZ. TradeZ basically has a black card to enter everywhere, and there will also be TradeZ specific gated events. So yeah, I hope.
The
I
bird
hope
is
the
going
people that
insane.
are waiting for this trade are pretty excited right now, because it might not. Well, some people might really like this because they've seen what we did with the Easter event, but some people might think, oh yeah, but I wanted a specific stat boost or whatever. Yeah, well, here you have it. TradeZ is basically your black card into Valhalla.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Actually, I know I think it's with a Bored Ape NFT or something. It gives you access to some IRL events, but this one actually gives another utility that's similar, but then in the digital world. So basically, it's a free card to access every event, every upcoming event in Valhalla, where you can potentially win, catch a Pharah, maybe win tokens or a skin or anything.
Yeah, it's basically a free entrance indeed, and like I said, we're going to gate these events, and that can be through tokens, or perhaps having a specific NFT, a specific Vera, or having fulfilled specific conditions within Valhalla. But the TradeZ, if you have that on your on your NFT, then you're basically in. So it's look, on one end, it's pretty OP in my opinion. On the other end, you're also dependent on the events, right, that are going to come. So yeah, there you have it, TradeZ.
Awesome. Thank you, man, for sharing. It's a big relief off my shoulders, to be honest. I had to do it for the boys. All right. Thank you. Exclamation mark NFT in the chat, by the way. No financial advice. All right, let's get started. Some questions might have been asked already during prior AMAs, but since there were so many of some of these, I will ask some of those again. And we will go through the submitted questions first, and if there is time left, we'll go to the live questions. And a reminder, guys, that we have Jackie with us as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to ask technical and blockchain-related questions, okay? So yeah, first of all, a lot happened over the last 2 months, as I was saying during the intro. So how are you both looking back over the progress made on the front end as well as behind the scenes during these past 2 months from your own perspectives? Jackie, starting with you.
Looking back, the last 2 months over the front end and the stuff in the back. All right, that's a big question. I think front end wise, if we look at Valhalla, the last 2 months, and now I have to really think back, because I have to think on what did we release to you guys versus what am I seeing daily, right? So for the general public, a lot has been updated in the UI department, I think, front end wise, and mostly performance updates to get us ready for a larger scale of gameplay. But other than that, I don't think, like off the top of my head, I don't think the front end has changed that much, if I'm remembering correctly. I do know that things in the background have changed a bunch, and that is to also prepare for gameplay or more social gameplay as we prepare for stuff like clans to enter Valhalla, and to prepare for stuff like to prepare for a lot of stuff before I start naming all sorts of things. So yeah, I think as these preparations start finishing up, the more interesting feature-wise updates start rolling out, and that I believe is where Vikings will start having a lot of fun, or at least I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, because I know Mr. Brown and I are having a bunch of fun with it.
That sounds promising. Mr. Brown will?
Yeah, what to add? Basically, yeah, Jackie's right. On the front end, well, you guys know, right? Before, let's say, if you go back half a year ago, there were leaks almost every week, 2-3 major leaks on our department. So it's fair to say on the front end, from what we've released to you guys, what we've shared. Yeah, I would say it has a backseat at the moment, because like Jackie says, and he's kind of underselling it, but the architecture, well, what's the English word? Well, you guys know what I mean. Behind the game, the gameplay, the mechanics we're trying to introduce, it involves a lot of testing, and yeah, so front end not so much. To summarize, back end a lot, because I think it's underestimated how much happens in the background, how much optimization is happening, and how much impact this optimization has. You imagine that. I know you know, not a will, but perhaps some of the community members don't know. But we hit the limit. We hit the limit of what WebGL could handle, right? In terms of memory, memory was running out, blah blah, and that also limited us in what we could show you within the web, within a web browser. These optimizations are not only good for performance, but they also allow us to bring more in that same web browser to you guys. And then I'm not even talking about graphics, but content, bigger worlds, more, yeah, basically more content. So basically that part of the game is currently being focused on, and that's why on the front end, you don't see that much. But in my opinion, it's at least as important, because I think on the front end, with what we've teased up till now, if you go back to all the teases that have happened, there is a lot of things to look forward to on art. It's just that you don't see new things every week, and that's normal within game development, because, well, first you ideate, then you concept, then you bring that concept slowly to life. You bring art in to make it more visible, tangible, and in parallel you start working on the technical side, and then at some point art, well, gets less attention, and then it's, yeah, at least within our game development cycle, a lot of attention to the gameplay mechanics, the technical part, especially because we've got blockchain to also consider. And then after we've, let's say, closed this chapter on, because you'll never stop with technical development, but after we've closed this chapter of technical development, there will be a lot of art coming back into play again. So yeah, a lot of context, perhaps unnecessary, but I know the Vikings always love to hear about what we're doing behind the scenes. So yeah.
To quickly hop on though, with regards to all these performance updates, I think the one thing, or I think the department internally that's developing Valhalla here is that is the most excited about all these performance updates is the audio department. And Mr. Brown also knows because they're super excited because before, due to constrained performance where we were hitting limits in the browser that we are now no longer hitting due to these massive upgrades, the audio experience that you were able to get in game was not how the department foresaw it initially. So they were definitely somewhat sad with the initial performance, but with performance as it is right now, they're extremely excited. They can do new things, new sorts of sound effects, new sorts of background music, all kinds of interesting things that will make Valhalla a lot more lively. And I think that is also something I extremely look forward to, but I think it's also something you all should be looking forward to.
Yes. To add on to that, if you have played the game before and the sound was stuttering, try again. And I assure you, it's not an experience you want to miss, because our sound department, well, you all know from theme songs, right, in the beginning, they are very, very talented, and I would say top-notch, great music that we have lined up still to show you guys. So yeah, pretty excited about that. Also, jumping back to what Jackie said about fun. Look, that's basically what we're trying to do, right? We're not looking for again top grade graphics, top grade XYZ, whatever. We're having fun, and to have fun, you need to iterate a lot. Iterate, test, iterate, and a lot of time also goes in there. I think there are, Jackie, I think 70% of what we do, we scratch, right, with the team, because it's just not fun enough. And this latest mechanical update that we're going to implement, or we're working on right now, it's going to multiply or quadruple. Let me keep it simple. Multiply the fun.
That is definitely a good way to put it. It'll definitely enhance the fun factor of the gaming experience. And yeah, I think 70% sounds about right. Whether it's just not a fun experience, whether it would make something entirely, as we say, broken, not in the sense technically broken, but that it would be too strong. Stuff like that can quickly happen. Or sometimes there's this occasional thing where one of the game designers who's responsible for VR mechanics goes a bit too creative, then it's no longer technically feasible to implement at all. But those are usually very far in between.
Yeah, the performance update seems to tie in with many other segments of the game, such as the sounds update that I actually didn't comprehend yet. So that's very nice. And Mr. Brown, well, don't worry, I actually like the context that you give with it, and many others in the chat do as well. I see that Mango Master shared his experience about a bug as well. That happened a couple months ago with the mouse, that your mouse just left the screen, so to say. So look at where we are today already. So it's a very nice update, and it seems to open up many more possibilities. And I actually think that this ties in with the first official question from George Prime to Mr. Brown Will. And hearing about all these developments, the roadmap says that Valhalla Mainnet will be released this year, or at least in phase 4. Is that still on track?
Long story short, yes. A bit more context. We have a scope for the mainnet, and that scope is mostly set, but some parts are dynamic. So what we see that is feasible for mainnet might be more or less, depending on how the coming months go, to what we first envisioned. So we're on schedule, as in mainnet before end of year, let's say end of year, or phase 4, or however you want to call it. Whatever goes with mainnet, that is the thing that we need to make sure to optimize, to maximize as much as the stuff we wanted to put in it initially, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then 2 more questions from George Prime to Jackie, and I think we can merge these together. Which chain are you looking at to deploy Valhalla mainnet? And if it enters mainnet, will it be play to earn straight away?
That is a very good question, and one that is there's no short answer, so I'll go straight into the somewhat longer answer, and that is that the choice of which chain is very much intertwined with the economics in game. Not just the economics in game, but also the economics outside of the game. Because it is a GameFi project, we are connected to everything outside of us, all the other tokens. Because if you can trade in-game stuff for external stuff on the same chain, or whether it's cross-chain, if there are bridges, then all of these economics start affecting each other. And the things that we look at to decide, one, the chain, but also to determine these economics or tokenomics in game, is what does it cost to play the game as an average gamer would do, or as let's say a casual gamer would do, versus someone that's grinding Valhalla hardcore. What does it cost to play the game transaction wise, for example? And how many types of transactions are there? What do those specific transactions cost? And what is the actual cost of doing something on specific chains? Like, what does it cost to do something on layer 1 ETH versus what does it cost to do something on a layer 2 Optimism versus maybe even a layer 3 example? So it's a very hard question to answer, actually, because it requires this extremely large amount of time of research that has to go into it. So the short answer, which we now get to, is which chain is it going to be? We don't know yet.
Okay. I heard something interesting during your answer, Jackie, because I never heard of a layer 3. Can you tell more about layer 3? What role can Valhalla have in that?
First of all, I thought you were no longer allowed to ask questions, but disregarding that. So if we look at layer 1 as the foundational basis of blockchain, and we go to layer 2 as building on top of this foundation and taking the aspects or the features like security that the first layer brings, and then doing something like achieving higher speeds, higher block speeds, and cheaper costs due to bundling, then layer 3 is a more extreme version of such a system. Simply because as we go along these networks and look at their features, some of it might still not be interesting enough or feasible enough to run an actual game on when you are playing it with a large number of people. For example, due to something like congestion, or due to, I think congestion is a primary reason. So for those reasons, you can go sort of up the pyramid, but there aren't many or any layer 3 solutions. I was just giving a example.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Jackie. The next question is from Viking Mango, and he is saying, so far defeating Feras just give XP experience. Will there be drops in the future, Mr. Brownbill? And if so, what kind of drops do we think of?
That's a good question, and yes, there will be a dynamic aspect, as in which Vera, how many Vera you encounter, and what they drop. So it's going to be more Diablo 4-like, in my opinion, in terms of what can be dropped. So yeah, I think that's. Yeah, we all know the Diablo, right? Or should I explain? So when you kill a monster in Diablo 2, 3, 4, then there's a chance for it to drop a currency, but also items or even shards of items. So yeah, these are things you can think about. That's definitely something that Jackie is not trying, but creating code for to make it happen on the blockchain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw something very interesting in the cryptic-looking Valhalla roadmap with the tree and all the icons. And on one of these icons, you could see a boss. At least I could see a boss in it that you can probably battle. And I would personally assume that this would leave more than just XP behind. Yeah. Then the last.
Well, yeah, I leave you to your assumptions.
All right, the last question from Viking Mango to Jackie. Will there be co-op slash clan quests, so cooperation slash clan quests?
That is luckily an easy answer to give. There's luckily an easy answer to give to that question, and the answer is yes. But then the next question is when.
Yeah, I heard you touch on the focus on social stuff soon. So
Yes, and to elaborate a bit more, it's relatively easy to do social aspects or to add social aspects to the game, but it is relatively hard to tie them into the blockchain ecosystem, because as soon as you need to interact with something together, then you run into the interesting thing of timing well, your transactions, or how do we do it with transaction validity. Think of something like a Uniswap or a Pancake Swap transaction. These also have deadlines attached to them, so that when you do something and it takes too long, then it won't go off the trade, because simply it took too long. Similar things can be used in these games, because, well, they're also happening on the blockchain, but then it's simply not fun, and the fun aspect comes back again if you spend a bunch of time together with your friends to do something. Then it should actually result in something, but then if somehow, due to congestion, the transaction fails, then obviously you're sitting there bummed out, which is suboptimal. And this is the reason why I say, when will we be having these social aspects? Because it's something we're very much actively looking into, to see how we can maximize the fun factor, but also ensure that we're still using the blockchain what it's meant for, and also adding stuff like tokens where they make actual sense, instead of just adding them willy-nilly. Hope that makes sense.
makes sense. Yeah. So the answer, Viking Mango, yes, there will be co-op slash clan quests, but it's a lot harder to develop these quests on the blockchain. So when? We'll see. The next question is, I think, a very interesting one from Scotty Limpin. I will leave it up to you guys who wants to take this one, if not both. And his question is, how do you plan to utilize the Metamask SDK? And some background info for the listeners. Metamask SDK is a way to connect your blockchain-based applications to Metamask wallet users. And one of these applications that is supported are games built with Unity. And we just happen to have this, hence this interesting question, guys.
That's definitely a really, really interesting question, because, well, we've been playing around with it, let's say that, and I'm pretty sure we found some interesting ways to include it into the game. Tentatively, there might be more news. So there was something never mind. Anyways, we've played around with it, and I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to find out eventually what kind of implementation of the SDK because Jackie, I'll leave you to the technical part, but from what I saw, nice stuff.
Yeah, so the Metamask SDK for the people that don't know it yet is something that Metamask released fairly recently that allows you to use it in Unity, which happens to be the game engine that Valhalla's built in. And we've been trying it out for a bit, and it works fairly well, I would say. There are still some hiccups, but we together with the folks at Infura, and Consensus, we try to ensure that everything works smoothly. And just stay tuned.
Nice. All right. The next question from Scotty Limpin is, we just touched on the Pharaohs and that they can drop more than just XP. Are we also able to trade these Pharaohs with other Vikings, with other players of Valhalla?
Oh, the Vera.
The Vera itself.
They're not soulbound. They're not soulbound. Soulbound. Yeah, they're not soulbound tokens. They're tradable tokens, and everything we do, by the way, because we still use play to earn, because obviously it's all just semantics what you call it, but play to own is a newer term in this space, a new narrative, or at least it was a new narrative a few months ago. And I would say the Vera is specifically tuned into that narrative, into play to own, because everything we do, or most things we do, involve creating more value into your Vera. So everything you do, the more you level it, which items you give it, a lot of other stuff I'm not going to leak, but all these things, they improve the value of your Vera. And what use is improving the value of your Vera if you cannot trade, sell, or buy one? So you will definitely be able to trade it, sell it, buy it. We encourage that, because in my opinion, they will be the primary value drivers within Valhalla.
I see. And as a follow-up from me, Mr. Brownbill, in addition, or Jackie, in addition to the NFTs like Pharaohs or crops grown through farming, are there other tradable items or a direction you can point towards in terms of tradability or NFTs in the game that listeners might not fully comprehend yet?
Where are these crops coming from? But other than that, as of patch PW, which is V0120, is everything that is inside of Valhalla is tradable. So until, and I'm thinking in my head what internal patch it is that introduces soulbound tokens or items. Until a specific patch, all items or things you get, all tokens you get, such as Veras, but also such as your character, which is also an NFT, or things like the runics you receive at the moment of registration, they're all tradable. So feel free.
Yeah, so I guess it's basically a free market, like an open market, where the players decide the price of the items.
Correct. So so you said items correctly. Things like potions, right now. They're also tradable, but we currently lock them in a specific way game-wise. As of a specific patch, that is no longer the case. So that means potions will also be consumed in battle. But until we get there, you can still freely use them because the battle system will not require you to authorize the transfer of those. But in general, during the game design phase, we not just think of how to make the game fun, but we also try to think a bunch about what makes certain tokens tokens, or what makes certain things like Veras. I don't want to call them things, but I need some sort of name. What makes them tokenizable, and why would it make sense to have them be transferable, or why would it make sense to have something be soulbound in the sense that it is attached to your wallet address from the moment it enters your wallet. And there are a bunch of things that are going to be soulbound inside of Valhalla, but you'll see when they first become available that it actually makes sense why they're soulbound.
Got it.
So stay tuned.
Just a quick follow-up from me, Jackie. Do you think that the possibility of a sister token as in-game currency with Floki as remaining as main utility token is a high probability?
No comment.
So-
But nice try.
All right. Next question is from Chris and Doc Floki to Mr. Brown Will. Will there be another event happening before the launch on Mainnet, or do we focus on the launch now?
Yeah, it's a hard question because we did have something planned. Another event, fun, very fun event. But yeah, look. On one end, we need to balance the people that are playing the game and keeping it fun for them. And on the other end, we need to make sure that we deliver as much as possible before mainnet. You know what I mean? In terms of content. And that's a really difficult balance, because I would love to focus on you guys, the most passionate players, the most passionate fan base that is playing Valhalla before it's even out. I would love to, we would love to spoil you with events, with all these incredible things we have in mind to do. But all the resources we allocate to those things are resources we miss in terms of completing milestones for the eventual mainnet, if that makes sense. So it's pretty hard for us to balance. I would say maybe we have something planned. I'm not sure if it's viable to do, but we'll find out soon enough. And I mean viable, I know it's viable to do, but I don't know if it's viable to do that and complete a specific set of features that we have in mind for mainnet. Very, very, I think the toughest question up till now, because I'm conflicted in this one.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah.
Because I you know what it is. I've seen firsthand what the players were experiencing, how much fun they have, even crashing bugs. They even have fun with the bugs, and I only want more of that. I want more pleasure, more basically early access pleasure. But on the other hand, I also need to be realistic, and I cannot we cannot spend resources twice. And in spending, I mean man hours and having people working weekends over and over, basically.
Yeah, I understand the dilemma. The next question is one combined from Ahmed Reda, AshBTC, and Scotty Limpkin regarding the longevity of Valhalla. And we touched on this last AMA, actually, Mr. Brownwell, but I think it's an important topic, so hence why I'm going to raise it again. And any of you can take this question, of course. He's asking what measures are taken in order to ensure sustainability. So you can think in terms of play-to-earn mechanics and further development, perhaps, down the road.
So in terms of sustainability, right, and longevity of the game, the things we do, we basically have our game design team set up mock economic situations and simulating a lot of different scenarios. But that's the basic way to do it, or not even the basic way. That's the way to sustainably try to ensure that things won't collapse. But there are things that we don't have control of. And the problem with answering this question is that it is going towards a leak in terms of the question where no comment was mentioned. So if you utilize Floki as a currency within the game, there is no way, and no person can convince me otherwise, but there's no way to 100% guarantee, or well, there isn't a guarantee anyways, but there is a very low to moderate, and I think moderate chance is already way too high for any game, but the low to moderate chance for the economy to destabilize because Floki is so volatile, right? And it's a token that's I don't know, it's just very volatile, and we all I'm not going to into price speculations because that gets us into other kind of trouble, but let's go the other way around. Let's say it dumps to a very low price, then the whole economy crumbles. And that's a challenge that I think none of the current games out there on blockchain have addressed correctly. And I think that with our focus on putting value not on the token that's being traded within the game, but on the Vera in this case, or other things that are going to be in the game that soak up all these value, it'll be less volatile and less prone to, okay, so how can I put this the best way possible without leaking? So if you and Scotty Limpin, shout out to Scotty, decide that Vera X is worth a specific amount of, well, perhaps not Floki, perhaps not Bitcoin or Ethereum, but a specific amount of dollars, then it will remain at that price point. And in that sense, look, it's way too hard to answer this without leaking. But let's just say we're testing a lot of different scenarios. We're doing as much as we can. We're trying to not focus too much on the token that's being traded. Obviously, Floki is going to be the fuel behind Valhalla. Nothing changes in that sense. But we're trying to create an economy that's not dependent on the price of a very volatile token. And I also see, and this was already why it's hard for me not to leak, but I'm seeing question makes sense, but how then does that help increase Floki price? So if I put my core hat off right now, right? So please take this as a value, a fellow community member. I would not focus on the utility or this game being a driver for Floki price, which it can be or it cannot be, but obviously we both know what I can and cannot say, but I would see it as a way for people to actually get more value out of their Floki. And that can be done by locking it, that can be done by numerous ways. So I would say less focus on, why doesn't the price go up because we have this Valhalla update. I would think, hey, what if it's finished and it's a success. And we have, well, not even South Asian, East Asian countries, but Asian countries. We have European countries, Western countries, American, North, South America. We have all these players all over the world playing this game, utilizing or needing Floki in some way, and not even focusing on needing Floki, but just knowing that this game is being brought by Floki. What does that do to the brand? What does that do for the people that have been paying attention? I think they know what the game, and that's not Valhalla, but the game of Floki is. What is the strategy behind positioning Floki? And Valhalla is just an essential flagship instrument or part of that whole entire puzzle. Because I cannot leak, this might sound for some people a lot of gibberish, but I think the people that are more in tune with what has been happening for the last 2 years, they might know more about what I'm saying. So
Yeah, 100%. Tough question. I was muted there. 100%. Yeah, tough question. And without leaking, you did a good job in answering, in my opinion. So definitely illustrated it well. Thanks for answering that one, Mr. Brownwill. The next question, also an interesting one, is from Trust. It's interesting considered the taste that we currently have on testnet, and of course with the current limitations of true web development in mind. So he's asking, how big will the map be compared to the current alpha/beta version?
That's a good question. How big will the map be compared to the current version? A lot bigger.
And I like you. I know that you like numbers and data, Jackie. Any one 5 times as
Well,
big
I
or 10?
actually have the square kilometer numbers of the map or the maps of, well, because I can actually load them in to the Unity engine and see what the kilometer sizes are, as well as the size of the island, for example, or the size of the Easter Island, stuff like that. So I can say, knowing what else there is to come, it'll be bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that idea as well, that it will be bigger. I was just wondering, is it twice as big or 5 times or even 20 times as big or so? But maybe it's hard to give a number to that.
Yeah, because then you have to consider what metric are you specifically looking at? Because there's big in the sense of, does it feel grand? But I can make a relatively small space feel big. Or is it big as in, okay, does it occupy a lot of area? But then how do you think of stuff like, hey, let's maybe stack area over one another? For example, maybe you could go under, maybe you could go over certain things, which might not make it look big, but or which might not make it look big from the outside, but if you play it, then the map would feel big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So in that sense, me giving you the actual numbers doesn't make that much sense, which is why I'll refrain from giving you the actual numbers, which also allows me to skip actually multiplying all these numbers together and adding them.
Got it. Alrighty. The last question already, the last submitted question already. One we've had before, many times actually, but due to popular demand and its interesting nature, in my opinion, particularly in terms of scaling the mobile app. I think it's interesting to separate this topic, now that we have the opportunity, into 2 parts. One about the broader point of mobile gaming and its timeline for Mr. Brownwill, and one regarding development for Jackie. So starting with you, Mr. Brownwill, we already know that Valhalla Mobile will eventually be available and playable, right? Is this, in your view, a make or break factor or a significant opportunity for scaling? And what priority does it have?
So mobile gaming is, in my opinion, not in my, it's very, very, very big. It is a massive, it's a massive market. A lot of people are using their phones basically to play games that were, that are so expensive that you would say, hey, do we even need laptops and consoles anymore? Because there's so much going on these games on mobile that for us it's an undeniable part of the strategy for Valhalla to go onto mobile. But I have to say that it's not the highest priority, and that is because before we do that, it needs to be solid. It needs to be solid on Web3. It needs to be solid on web. It needs to be solid on devices, basically, that are bigger than a mobile, before we can bring it to mobile. And I think if we do that way, if we make sure it's fun, it's balanced, it's all those things, and we then bring it to mobile, it's going to be a grand slam. I'm convinced. Another alternative is something we've been talking about, because we see the potential of mobile gaming, and we also VR is coming up with the Apple Vision stuff, but we also thought about releasing not a mini game, but a part of Valhalla on mobile, so it's easier to digest and just a part of the game, but it gives the people already access to Valhalla, to everything that's behind it, the Floki ecosystem, blah blah blah. So that's also things we've been discussing and weighing, but to manage expectations, that is not something we have lined up for before Mainnet. That is something we will. That's something that after Mainnet is there, after we've put a solid foundation, it's something we can expand upon. If obviously all the stakeholders, including you, and I hope soon the DAO, want that to happen, basically. So I hope that makes sense, and it answered all the questions you put into one question.
Yes, it did. Thanks for that, Mr. Brownwell. And Jackie, regarding development, you're talking to someone, me, with absolutely like sub-zero knowledge of coding, right? Can you like copy paste the code with some minor adjustments for mobile gaming, or does this require a whole new process to develop Valhalla on mobile?
It depends on what you're copy pasting. So if you mean, hey, can you copy paste the contracts? Technically, yes, because you're still playing the same game, similar to how like a game. Well, because Mr. Brown mentioned Diablo 4, it allows you to crossplay, right? You can play it on console and you can play it on PC, for example, but they talk to the same servers. In that sense, that part of the code doesn't change at all. What does change, though, is how do you, as a player, interact with the game client? Because in Valhalla, currently there's a few keys you can use, and then there's the mouse. But if you then look at a mobile game, we're looking at touchscreen. And there's a few aspects to consider here, because Valhalla can effectively be divided into several components. Because as you may have noticed, there's the open world component, where it makes a lot of sense to have controls like sort of analog sticks that allow you to move around and interact with things. But then when you enter the more board game like game environment, you want an entirely different set of controls. For something like the people that played along in the Easter event will know, like the racing game, that's something else, something entirely different as well. So we have to think about all these types of user input and what makes sense in specific cases, as well as the actual blockchain side of things. So what happens when the transaction occurs? How will that show up for you as a mobile user? Because right now, when I'm in browser, you get the pop-up thingy, and then you do it there. If you would do it via, because we mentioned it today, the Metamask SDK, then you would no longer get it in the browser, but instead you would receive it as it happens on your mobile, where you would then sign the transaction and perform it. So these things, development-wise, are what we think of, and are things that we change accordingly, or will have to change accordingly, for an eventual mobile release, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
And-
Is it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mr. Brownwell, go ahead.
Yeah, to add to that, there are also a bunch of easy wins, right? I mean, what Jackie and myself are doing with our team, we're trying to maximize Web3 value, innovation, trying to stretch or the limits of what's possible, or right, like explore new stuff. But there's also a scenario, and we've said this a bunch of times, that a third party says, "Hey, you know what? All these Vera, they are on the blockchain. Well, why don't we just create a game that involves these Vera, and then you can use your Vera on the blockchain because it's yours, it's your NFT." And they create, well, let's say a mobile game, let's say, well, a racing, no, not a racing. Let's say they have their own arena, and you need to just log in, and it uses your Vera. You can play with your Vera, and then you have a mobile game that uses Vera. So obviously that's not a Valhalla, right? That's not Valhalla on mobile, but I've always seen Valhalla as more of an ecosystem where other people create games, and hopefully we'll show you. And it's not part of the scope, but it's something Jackie and I really want to do, is to show you that you can create mini games that that utilize these NFTs, and yeah, you can also create your own, let's say, economy around them, or not even. I wouldn't even focus on the economy, but just having fun. And if you have fun and you have success, you will become demanded, and from that point onwards, you can always earn on other stuff. But yeah, again, shout out to any other dev out there. Go use our NFTs. Go use stuff we want to build together. And these are easy wins. These are shortcuts to get NFTs and things from Valhalla to, for instance, mobile or whatever. But yeah, it's not probably the answer you're looking for, but it is something I think is valuable to mention.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I just came to mind that when I think about a mobile app, I also think about the App Store. And maybe the fees, like the play to earn mechanics in the game, will give some obstacles associated with the fees within the App Store.
Yeah, but I think Axie got in, so they opened a door there. But yeah, it will definitely be less complicated if you don't involve blockchain on the mobile, and that's also a possibility that we just put a version on mobile that doesn't involve blockchain. But if you actually want to mint the stuff you're earning within the game, then you need to go to web and connect it with web. These are I'm just talking out of my head from brainstorms I have had with Jackie, but these are options that we can explore.
Definitely. Yep. Guys, one last question before we wrap up. I want to respect the time of our guests, Mr. Brownwell and Jackie. And let's see which one will we. But this is very hard because now we get to the point we're gonna pick one question, and maybe someone will feel left out. Guys, all the questions were very good, but blame me because I'm going to pick a simple, short question to respect the time of Mr. Brownwell and Jackie. And that is one of Ron. And he is asking not about the weapons, because he's always asking about weapons. I don't know what the deal is with weapons, but he's also asking how many more Veras will we get before mainnet? Is it hard to put a number to this, Mr. Brownwell?
It's not that hard.
Is it not?
It's not that hard, but
Let's hear it.
let's say I'm having internal battles with Jackie and the rest of the team. To push out more, but let's keep it at least 2.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, you have a nice way to battle it out as well in the arena. The winner gets to decide.
Yeah, unfortunately, if only there would be a win there, because I would lose anyway. Because if I would not lose the battle in the arena, let's make that clear. But I would lose the grander battle, as in if we allocate more resources to more Vera, yeah, we will have to sacrifice other stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, Jackie, your input.
Yeah, true. No, it's definitely true. And then there's also the fact that not all Veras have the same development they have the same duration of development cycle. Some take a bit longer during the game design phase. Some take a little bit longer during the actual development phase. Whereas some are just very difficult to animate, for example, and they might take longer in the animation phase. Or some, and this is a Vera that you haven't seen because they haven't been released yet, and I'm not actually sure whether they actually will get released, are just so unique in game mechanics that they break, or not, maybe not break, but they make things very difficult in the battle arena. So that also, technically, when we look at the roadmap, it slows things down a bit.
Yeah.
But that's what you get for going for the fun factor.
Yep. And that brings us to the end of this AMA. And yeah, we talked about topics ranging from the roadmap for Valhalla's mainnet release to sustainability measures, and ended with the much anticipated mobile topic. And before giving the last words to you, Mr. Brownville and Jackie, I want to thank you both for joining us today, providing some valuable insights, and especially in a way that's easy to understand and helps us create a clearer picture. That was really helpful. So the extra context was very much appreciated, Mr. Brownville and Jackie. And also, I would like to thank everyone who's here live here for attending and making it engaging and fun. I read the chat. And of course, the ones that have submitted their questions, because today was filled with amazing questions. So yeah, we can also rest assured the Valhalla team is working hard behind the scenes. And I know many are very hungry to see more, including me, or some people might face a bug here and there. So also appreciation for the patience and submitting bug reports in our Discord, because it really plays a big role in shaping Valhalla. So with that being said, Mr. Brownville and Jackie, any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to echo what you're saying. Thank you, everybody that has been part of this journey up till now. This journey is far from ending, so let's keep on sailing. I keep saying it, but the beta testers, everybody that's testing, playing the game, everybody's providing comments, providing bug reports, even being annoying about specific features of the. Everybody contributes to the progress here, and everybody that is contributing is also fueling ourselves, because it's all passion. Because if you don't care about stuff, you wouldn't even dedicate any time to it in a negative or positive way. So thank you, all of you, for hanging with us, and let's get this going. I'm going to share one little leak that's going to, let's just say, the thing we are the game, one of the game mechanics we're going to introduce, and that's not this month, perhaps not next month, but in a while, it's going to change up the meta very, very hard. All right, I'll leave you to it. In the famous words of the person we all know, God bless.
Thanks for leaving us with that, Mr. Brownwell.
Yeah, so I don't really have anything to leak. Well, I have a lot of things to leak, but not today. But like Mr. Brown, I would like to thank everyone for, well, playing the game, of course, and also a lot of thanks to everyone that comments on how their experience is, that gives feedback on how their Valhalla gaming experience is, but also sends in bug reports. Know that all of them are being read, and they reach pretty much everyone that works on Valhalla. It doesn't always brighten everyone's day, but in the end, we all benefit from it. And while it may get someone down a bit, oh, there's a bug, I always love it to see, okay, this is broken, we can make something better and we can improve on it. So many thanks to everyone that's submitting these things, and I hope you'll continue doing it, and I hope to see you all in Valhalla.
See you in Valhalla, Jackie. All right, thank you once again for being a part of this AMA. It was a good one. Take care, everyone, and see you all next time. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.